Well, the HSBC Nifty is up about 28 points. We'll once again open around that zone from where we've slipped 10 times now. But let's see. Every day is a different day in market, of course. Perhaps today could be the day. But Nimesh joins us now with some interesting, brokerage recommendations. Nimesh?
Well, so a couple of reports stand out in today's trade. Anuj. So first is HSBC on steel. They have written a huge report on steel sector today. They've upgraded JSW Steel to a buy from a hold. They've raised the target price as well, but they've cut or downgraded sale to a hold from a buy, and there the target price is cut from 100 rupees to 57 rupees. So pretty sharp cut for sale in terms of HSBC. They've cut the estimates across the board for most of the companies on the back of weak prices. They feel that while the operating numbers have been pretty strong for the first 9 months, the stocks have underperformed largely on the back of macro concerns and slowdown in China. But they feel now, in the next couple of months from now, we'll probably see some bit of stimulus from China. That could probably help some of the steel stocks. So that's the view coming in from HSBC. The other interesting report was from CLSA on the PSUs. I like the headline quite interesting. It was a quite interesting headline saying don't ignore the PSUs at this price. So first, they feel that the select PSUs offer a very attractive risk reward at this current levels. They're trading close to their all-time lows of around 8.5 times forward PE. So that's quite attractive. And relatively to the Nifty, they are trading at a 50% discount. So it's quite, all the bad news is quite in the price. In terms of stock recommendations, they prefer ONGC, NTPC, and Coal India among the top PSUs that they're betting on. And within financials, they like SBI.
Okay, thank you very much for that, the CLSA view. We did get to read Mahesh Nandurkar earlier in the show as well. That's an interesting view, but let's see how it works out. Well, with that, let's invite Devin Choksi of KR Choksi Investments to give us his views on several stocks. Good morning, Devin. Always good to have you with us. Well, first up, Mindtree. What did you make of the numbers? The IT majors had given us reason to hope for grand numbers. Not quite there.
Good morning, Lata. Well, on the face of it, I think the Mindtree numbers are quite okay, I guess. I think they are relatively stable comparatively. However, I think going forward, how this particular business is going to pan out once the promoter changes hands, as we all expected. So from that perspective, probably I think one will have to see how exactly the business would pan out for the company. But otherwise, on the face of it, the numbers are quite okay. As I see it, I think in the the bigger companies, the TCS and Infosys particularly, I think they have been able to successfully give the higher guidance, largely because of their focus now paying dividend as far as the cloud computing, AI related activities are concerned. TCS is also demonstrating larger accounts in every quarter. In fact, I think 4 or 5 big accounts, which has a visibility of revenue for next 10 years. I think $1 billion account for next 10 years in every quarter. So somewhere around 15 to 20 accounts, getting added every year, in the last few quarters as we see it. So from that perspective, TCS shows, distinctly different kind of a model as far as the growth is concerned. Mid-sized IT companies, Tata Elxsi probably, hasn't been able to perform as much. Mindtree numbers are relatively more stable. KPIT numbers, are relatively more promising than otherwise. So yes, broad summarization, the mid-sized IT companies could possibly grow a little faster compared to the larger companies, sheerly because of the size itself, on which they are operating.
All right, well, the first pre-opening rates are kicking in right now. It's flat with a bit of a negative bias. The Nifty, that is, just holding on to the 10,870 level. In terms of big movers, you have a couple of these banks, IndusInd Bank, HDFC, Infosys continues to show its leadership, so up almost about 1% over there. And on the downside, a couple of auto stocks, Hero MotoCorp, Bajaj Auto, are under a bit of pressure right now. We'll also get the first opening tick on the rupee. Flash for you.
Stronger. It was 71.24 yesterday. I think it opened at 71.15.
Yeah.
So okay, dollars cheaper by about 8-9 pies. Not much by way of direction. Let's see how things pan out. I look at more the bond yield, which had risen quite sharply yesterday. But since the market is not looking at it, maybe we can ignore. I thought 7.55 was a bad number for the 10-year bond yield. but the market quite clearly doesn't seem to care. I would like to see if Jet has a trade.
It's actually down almost 10%, as you were expecting it to. You know, it looks like the deal will take time to get stitched through, especially because of the onerous expectations that Etihad has. So Jet Airways now down about 2%. But Devin, hi, good morning. I wanted your thoughts on how to approach Reliance ahead of its numbers. Is there anything in today's earnings which could cause a re-rating in the stock?
Yeah, good morning, Sonia. Well, I think as we all know, on one side you have a refining business with a close to about 1 lakh crore worth of revenue coming in a quarterly basis. I think that is one side activity, followed by petrochemical with around 47,000 crore worth of revenue coming in, and then the retail and the telecommunication with 33,000 and 10,000 respectively kind of a revenue coming in. So from that perspective, if you look at it, the other three segments compared to refining, I think are contributing equally now as far as the business of the company is concerned, and probably that is the key thing to watch about. Refining margins are likely to remain under pressure in this particular quarter because we have seen quite a wild swing in the GRMs, and probably Singapore GRM has had a low of around somewhere around $4.5 to a barrel. Even if I consider that I think Reliance would continue to enjoy the premium over Singapore GRM, then probably still I think compared to the last quarter of $11, I think you would be somewhere around $8.5, $8.7, I think on a higher side as far as the GRM is concerned. So obviously for Reliance, I think this particular quarter the margins are likely to remain under pressure as far as the refining is concerned. But on the other side, volume-led growth in petrochemical business and successful ability to pass on the cost, I think would probably produce better results both on the EBIT as well as on the bottom line level, I think, for the petrochemical polymer segment. Along with the geo, so that is telecommunication segment, as well as I think the retail segment should continue to grow relatively, I think, better number compared to the quarter basis as well as I think on the yearly basis. So the other three segments compared to refining holds more promises, and that should have a larger say in the results today.
Okay, Devin, good morning. By the way, specialty restaurant is up another 20%. So,
and HDFC Bank is down 4%, 4.5%. I think it will correct.
Great, that will correct. But specialty restaurant clearly stands out, up about 20%. So looking quite interesting. Let's see how that one pans out.
I like their food more than the numbers.
No, food is very good, of course, without a doubt. But Axis Bank is also up a bit. There's a note from CLS in the morning. Devin, good morning. Your thoughts on a stock like Axis at 670 now? It's been a decent run.
Yes, Anuj, good morning. Certainly, I think the ICICI and Axis, I think with the change in the leadership, has raised the optimism in the minds of the investors, and rightfully so. In case of ICICI, we have seen that I think they have been having a good amount of liquidity with them, and the appetite for buying new asset I think is already on the good side. So like I think the housing portfolio they probably bought over, and I think similar situation could possibly emerge going forward in favor of I think buying some of the quality assets. So from a perspective of I think change in the management, if we see it, I think the companies are coming, both these companies are coming into a sharper focus on quality of growth vis-a-vis I think in past. So from that perspective, I think one can have a reasonably good expectation. Yes, I think the stocks have risen I think in recent past, and probably they are justifying this particular optimism. We'll have to wait and see for actual results to come up. In my viewpoint, I think another 3 to 4 quarters, I think, in which you will see a systematic increase on a quarterly basis, improvement in the results, and that's where I think you would see the stability. So any correction in the stock price would mean I think buying opportunity, but otherwise I think the view remains that the downside in the stock remains limited. The stress on the assets, I think non-performing asset related provisions I think are systematically lower, and in fact I think the recovery from the non-performing asset is the cornerstone in the results I think that we are seeing in this kind of companies or expecting in this kind of companies. So certainly remain confident. Correction would be a better opportunity to add these stocks into the portfolios.
Okay, well, for now, the market is quiet, but with a positive bias, so that's a good thing. The Nifty is up almost 24 odd points. Keep an eye out on HUL. Ahead of its numbers, it's trading in the green. The stock the company is expected to report a decent set of numbers this time around, a volume growth of around 6 to 8 odd %. Manisha Gupta joins in now to give us a quick roundup of all the action from the commodity space that we can expect. Hi, Manisha. Good morning.
Morning, Sonia. Thank you so much for that. Well, even with the profit taking that we are seeing on our screens on the crude oil prices, we still are holding that $60 per barrel mark. But while, of course, there are demand concerns on one side because we have continued to see weaker economic data from much of Asia and Europe as well. And on the other side, you have the US production, which is at record highs now on a week-on-week basis at 11.9 million barrels per day. The US exports are at a record high of 3 million barrels per day. And the inventories have been surging for the crude products in US. So that is the US crude prices have continued to decline more than what the Brent really seems to be doing. What the markets only hope really right now is the OPEC and the allies cut, and another 15 days before we see the publications of the compliance that the OPEC and the allies have been able to maintain. So until then, it is going to be quite jittery when it comes to the crude oil prices. In the metal space, there's only one space, and that is palladium, which has hit a record highs yet again, up nearly 60% in last 6 or 7 months. But barring that, all the other metals seem quite volatile. Of course, China has injected an all-time record $83 billion into the banking system yet again. And that really tells you that there are serious concerns. We have continued to see the Asia data come in on the weaker side. So it's quite mixed in the metal space. You have palladium trading on the higher side, and copper is the only one that I see in the green. Everything else really has seen a bit of a decline in Shanghai and LME as well.
Manisha, thanks a lot for that. The pre-open has settled, and it's settled quite okay. Once again, about in that zone, 30 points higher at 10,920 is where we have the pre-opening rate. Let's see how that one pans out.
Surprising profit taking in IT stocks today, actually. HCL Tech, Infosys, Tech Mahindra. The 3 of the 5 stocks in the Nifty which are in the red are IT stocks. I guess we have to wait for the actual rates for a pattern.
Yeah, I think the other stock that will be in focus is Federal Bank ahead of numbers. Now, it's had a one-way rally before this whole SME issue came up, and you saw, and of course there was this resignation from a director, so you saw that stock correct. They went Federal from 75 to 92, but from the high of, I think it was close to 100, it's corrected 10%. Are you buying it here?
Sorry, which company
Federal
did
Bank.
you say? No, sir, I don't have the view on the subject, Anuj, I think, and neither we have covered it, so we'll refrain from putting the answer.
Okay, Mitesh, your thoughts on Federal, because I remember you spoke about the breakout last month. Mitesh?
The stock did very well and I think rallied up to about levels of 96, 97, and since then has corrected. I think as long as 88, 89 holds, there's a chance of a bounce back, but if that breaks, then I think the stock will possibly go down to about 85 odd levels. Not much of a movement, but the structure is slightly weakened with the fall in the last 2 days.
Okay. Well, Sudarshan, should one trade Reliance at all today or just wait for the numbers?
No, if you hold it, then stay with it, even as a trader. But there is no need to take a new position. You must wait for the numbers.
Okay. Deven, HUL is the other one that's coming out with numbers. Again, as Anuj has been saying, approaching the results itself at 52-week highs. What are you expecting, and is it all priced in?
So on a relatively higher base, I think we continue to expect, I think, around a moderate growth of 7-8%, I think, on the volume side and 11% on the top line side. Maybe I think last quarter they surprised us with the margin as well as I think the bottom line numbers, I think, which grew by 20%. I am not expecting, I think, the similar kind of a performance continuing this quarter, because in this particular quarter probably they will have to absorb some part of the input cost, I think the cost of raw material, which may not be easily passed over. On one side, I think we continue to believe that some of the portfolios like their Ayurveda portfolio as well as I think the oral care portfolio, they are contributing relatively better to the company's performance these days. However, I still believe that I think the food segment in which they are, probably I think they will have a margin impact to, I think, talk about. Not too sure at this point of time, I think, when they are integrating GSK Consumers portfolio into them, and that probably could possibly add to the top line as well as bottom line going forward. But keep that aside for the timing till the result is reported. But on the whole, I think the numbers should be satisfactory as I see it. I think with the margin growth not happening, but volume growth continuing to happen in this particular quarter.
Okay, volume growth of 6 to 8% is what we're expecting from HUL. But a couple of more stocks in focus today. You have Motilal Oswal, that could be the stock on the downside. It's down almost 5% after very disappointing numbers, especially the housing finance business has completely collapsed for Motilal Oswal. So keep that in mind. Mindtree, the Q3 earnings were in line, but the outlook for Q4 was good. So Mindtree is up in the green right now, up almost about 0.3%. And Jet Airways is struggling quite a bit. It's now down almost about 3%. But we have 3 more minutes to go. Let's get some 9-10 calls in. Ashwini, what would your call be at 9-10 this morning?
See, NIIT Tech, even if it declines, you should try to buy it. That's a buy with a stop of 11.95, target of 12.40.
Okay. Well, at the moment, markets are looking like it could be flat to in the green. 0.25% higher, no matter which index you pick, and Bank Nifty, of course, 1/3% higher. Sudarshan, your 9-10 call?
Well, that's for the Bank Nifty by ICICI Bank. It should do well with a stop at 370 and an intraday target at 381. And quickly, Lata, a bit of free advice for retail investors who own Jet Airways shares: get out.
Okay.
Okay.
That's most useful, actually.
That's very useful. Yes, Mitesh, your 9-10 call?
Yeah, I would choose a buy on Finolex Pipe. Keep a stop at 547. Look for targets of 585.
Okay, that's interesting.
Devin, I just want to ask you, in the result season so far, especially in mid-caps, did anything stand out for you?
Not yet. I think that immediately I can put a finger on, but I'm expecting some good results to come from companies like Sterlite Technology, where we have been liking this company, the business of the company. They have shown relatively higher amount of confidence in earlier quarters with the increase in the order book as well. So I think this is one company where probably I think I would like to see relatively better performance coming up. Otherwise, I think what surprised on the result side was the Z's number, though I am yet to get the full breakup of how exactly I think these numbers have shot up so smartly in this quarter and whether it will sustain in subsequent quarters. But I think a very sharp jump in the earnings, I think, which has come from Z. I think that is probably more on the surprising side. But expecting better numbers coming from Sterlite Technology, that would be the one which we will be tracking for.
Okay. Well,
I just want to ask very quickly, you don't track specialty chemicals or visit their specialty restaurants or visit their restaurants, Devi?
No, Lata, I think no coverage from our side on these stocks. And as you rightly said, I think just go and enjoy the food. I think why invest in shares?
Okay,
but it's 20% 2 days on the trot. Okay, I think today it's 12%.
I guess you're feeling hungry, right? It is breakfast time, so I won't blame you. But we just have a minute to go. Sudarshan, very quickly wanted your thoughts on Yes Bank. I know this is not a stock that you prefer, but still, after the 15% rally this month, do you expect to see more upsides?
See, it does appear that there's a trading rally going on. So if somebody wants to buy it, there is an opportunity. I don't like it anyway.
Okay, fair point. Well, still a few seconds to go, so maybe I'll squeeze in IDFC First Bank. Ashwini, is that a stock that you have looked at? It's done well this month.
It looks like it can head up to 65 to 67.
Oh.
Instead of these Federal Bank, DCB, etc., this looks like a place where money is going.
Oh yeah, it indeed is. It's a very good performer. This month, I think it's shoulder to shoulder with Yes Bank without that kind of a baggage. So perhaps something there. We just have a few seconds, so I'll not try and squeeze in a question. But quite a few banks are doing well today. IDFC First Bank, Axis Bank, Federal Bank are all, South Indian Bank are all starting a little higher. So let's see how things pan out after the bell goes.